Fox News alert now. Right now, the president has congressional leaders back at the White House as the partial government shutdown approaches 2 weeks. Reportedly, there's no deal in sight for the president and Democrats. Neither side is budging. You're watching Outnumbered. I'm Harris Faulkner. Here today, Melissa Francis, Lisa Boothe, radio host and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall. And we welcome for the very first time in the center seat from the great state of Florida, Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz. Great to have you.
Welcome.
Good to be here. I tell you, I've done almost every show on your network, but this couch has been my white whale.
Aww,
so the chance to be here with you, this caps a career of
mission accomplished.
Moby.
Yes, that's right.
We'll call you Moby. I love the cobalt suit, by the way.
They said
gorgeous.
loud colors,
right?
so
Yeah,
good to see.
Bringing freshness to the couch.
Hey, I got to
Love
bring
it.
some style to the Congress. I mean, you go in there sometimes.
Oh,
I mean,
good point.
They still wear pleats.
Should
That's right.
I mention what I heard in the green room about somebody's jacket? I won't.
Wow. Already
Now
throwing
I wanna
shade.
know.
Throwing
Yeah.
shade early. I like it.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Welcome. All right. So you kind of alluded to the fact, and I want to put a fine point on it. There's a wall on the border in California where Nancy
Right.
Pelosi has been a congresswoman for 3 decades. Like, I don't understand. And it has been in written form with Democrats voting for it. I'm going to peek over your shoulder now to Leslie Marshall and just ask you about that. Can it be called something else? I know Melissa and I have been talking about this on the couch for weeks. We get the marketing value for the president's side. We now get the marketing value for the Democrats because they can say no wall money. But where's the juicy middle in this?
Well, the difference is, and there is fencing that is badly in need of
The president has
repair.
been spending some money that was already allocated by Democrats, I might add,
Right.
to restore some of those porous areas.
But when you look at the way it is right now, and it's not just semantics, it is a matter of not just cost, but how much of that wall and how much of that border is in fact a wall, and is that good enough for security? It isn't. We just heard about the vice president with Tucker Carlson last night talking about drugs. One of the problems that we have had on the border in California are the underground tunnels, which a wall does nothing to address and drones do nothing to address. This issue, and I said yesterday, it goes bigger. You talk about one of the reasons that they're coming here, it's that carrot of opportunity that's being dangled. Nobody is addressing that. Comprehensive immigration reform has to include border security. Both sides want that. But speaking of both sides, we now have Democrats saying, hey, let's put forth something you guys on the right already agreed to, and now the Senate's saying, no, we don't like that. Well, you already agreed to it in the past.
All right, let me ask you, Lisa, because
Democrats already agreed to funding for a double
Which I did not
barrier
agree
fence.
with.
So
I did not agree.
I just
I
want
did
to
not
make sure
agree
that we
wall for
push back on
dreamers
that before we
on
go back.
either side.
But we always get back to the same place in the argument, and I think this is what is so frustrating to me and to so many regular Americans out there. I feel like politicians and even pundits on both sides can make words say anything to make their argument. That's the skill. That's how you get elected. That's how you stay on television. But the reality of what's underneath it is that very simple phrase that you just said, which is input resources to output security. So if we could just agree in Congress, like, could people grow up and sort of sit there and say, we're going to input this many dollars of resources for an output of security, which includes whatever those architects down on the border thinks makes sense, whether it's technology, all the things that we've named. Doesn't that make sense? I'd ask both of you. Doesn't that make sense?
It doesn't address the majority. Remember, the majority of people that come to this country illegally don't come over the border.
No, I understand. It's not immigration reform. You are right. And we need E-Verify.
But it's not just immigration reform. When you talk about terrorism, majority of them aren't coming over through the Mexican border or just the Mexican border.
I want to stop all of them, not just the majority.
We have four.
I understand, but
I wouldn't use that language. I don't, again, establish any language standards for my colleagues. But I don't think it's anything worse than what the president has said.
All right, that was the new Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, responding to newly surfaced video of freshman Democrat Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, who used some extreme language, calling for President Trump's impeachment. Watch.
When your son looks at you and says, Mama, look, you won, bullies don't win. And I said, baby, they don't, because we're going to go in there and we're going to impeach them.
Today, the Congresswoman appeared to double down on those remarks, tweeting, I will always speak truth to power. And earlier, Republican leaders also responded to the video. Here's how Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and House GOP Caucus Chairwoman Liz Cheney reacted.
You've had very foul language used and accusations of the necessity to impeach. So we're in a situation where the Democrats are clearly bringing into this office, as they take charge, a level of rhetoric, a level of attack, a level of vitriol that's not good for the country.
How do you work with anybody if this is what they really have planned? That they go down into a place, that they have a move on, they think others aren't watching it, they're using foul language, they introduce that they just want to impeach the president. Over what basis? We have government shutdown right now. Where are their priorities?
So one of our Fox News producers caught up with Speaker Pelosi on her way into the White House meeting with the president, and he asked her about that freshman congresswoman's remarks. Here's what Pelosi said. Okay, so we're going back to that place where, you know, somebody's saying you can't use the language, and there's, oh, the president did it. Frankly, I mean, I don't know. I may be alone. I don't really care about the language. My ears are not that sensitive. It's more about the fact that if she really did say this to her son, to me, she was lying to her son and to her constituents, because they don't have any hope of impeaching the president. They're not going to get that through the Senate. I mean, what's your take?
I actually think they're going to impeach the president in the House. I don't think they'll convict him in the Senate. But if you look, this is the new left, Melissa. This is where the energy is in the Democratic Party. Not to bring solutions on health care, not to work with us on immigration, not to pass an infrastructure bill, but to impeach Donald Trump. They had not, that member of Congress had not been sworn in for 24 hours. She wasn't saying, you know, we're going to go and protect people with pre-existing conditions. She was saying we're going to impeach the president. I think they'll do it because I do not believe that this version of the Democratic Congress can push back against the talking heads and against just the activists in the Democratic Party.
I think I'll
allow you to disagree. Do you think they're not going to impeach the president?
You'll allow me to disagree?
Well, sure.
You're just going to say that.
I think I see steam coming out of
I'll give you a pass on that one. You may be wearing blue, but I am a Democrat. You are wrong. You have mostly the biggest number.
Is Tlaib wrong?
43 Democrats have said, okay, they would. The majority of Democrats have said no. Nancy Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi now, has said, no, that's not what we're going to do. It's too soon. Not only do they want to see the report, and even though, like Gerald Ford said, the House can impeach the president for pretty much whatever they deem is an impeachable offense, that's
but he's not going anywhere.
That's not what, exactly.
Right.
And by the way, can I tell you something? If we were going to impeach him, we would do it, I believe we would do it if he did get reelected when we get, hopefully, majority in the House, and that could be done.
But you're making my point that it's not.
She said yesterday that these might be impeachable offenses.
The majority of Democrats don't want to impeach the president.
70% of Democrat primary voters believe in impeachment. 70%. That's a fact.
They want to remove the president. And removing the president is not impeaching the president. It is making him a one-term president.
That's not what the polling says.
And the way the polling, Hillary Clinton would be our president.
So then what do you make of her remark, Leslie? Because then, that was my point, is that her remark was, I don't care if it's offensive, it was untrue. I mean, they're not going to get him out. By virtue of electing her, you're not putting her in there so that she can remove him, you know, within the next year. That's it. Boom, you're going to be done with it.
But that's what she's implying, says, Lisa, that the House can do this because if they have the votes, they can impeach. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen.
He's not going anywhere.
Because it's not going to go past the Senate.
Politicians do that all the time. I'm going to do this. I'm sorry. I'm going to do that.
But this is day one, and this is already where they are, right?
Hold on. Okay. Well, she also is saying that President Trump sounds like a bully, and then she kind of sounds like a bully there.
Can you impeach somebody for being a bully?
No, but if I'm being perfectly honest, both sides have a problem with this kind of language. I would be intellectually dishonest to sit here right now and say that both sides don't have an issue with this.
It's childish and unimaginative.
But to Leslie's point, you also have Jerry Nadler, who's going to be the Judiciary Chairman, who's made comments about impeachment and alluded to it could be a possibility. So I don't agree with you on that. And also, you are going to have obstruction and this sort of behavior from the Democrat Party. You've got someone like Maxine Waters, who's going to be the Financial Services Chairwoman, who's literally called for violence against people in the Trump administration. So all we're going to see from Democrats in the next year is obstruction and investigations.
But Nancy Pelosi at times sings a little different tune. Listen to this.
We have no illusions that our work will be easy and that all of us in this chamber will always agree. But let each of us pledge that when we disagree, we respect each other and we respect the truth.
Congressman.
Yeah, look, I think that Lisa's right. Both sides engage in sharp-elbowed language, so I don't take great offense to that. I'm more interested in where the puck is going. I think when you say that Democrats aren't going to impeach the president, only 43 voted to do it, that's like looking into a mirror and believing that it is a window. That's where you are today. But the fact that 24 hours don't even pass before you see Democrats making this call. It shows you that they're not going to be able to withstand the pressure from their own voters. Again, 70% of Democrat primary voters favor impeachment. And don't forget, we have a presidential election that's getting started already. And when you see these 87 different Democrats running for president, all trying to out-liberal each other.
Is it 87 now?
Yeah, whatever it is. I don't think there's a Democrat in America not running.
There were only two
Leslie,
running.
just throw your name in the hat.
Wait a minute. Speaking of, can I just say, when you say throw my name in the hat, Ben Sherman from my state of California, who my party will tell you he's one of, if not the most vulnerable Democrat who was bringing up articles of impeachment. I was approached to take his seat. So this is how vulnerable he is, okay, if they called me.
But here's the point on this story. So here's someone who comes out and says this, and whether or not, they say, oh, she didn't know there was a recording in the room. I mean, I'm always deeply suspicious of these things, and she has gotten a huge boost in PR.
She did it.
Because everyone everywhere is talking about it. I mean, I mark it down as being much more contrived.
100%.
What room can we walk into? Certainly not like a dressing room at most places. There are cameras everywhere. Unfortunately, at the most inappropriate moments, you may find out something that you said was on camera.
Especially at a mic.
Look, maybe she didn't know, but she knew. She was holding a microphone. So somebody's got something to say.
I'm with Melissa.
But let's put all that aside for just a second. The core issue has to do with who we want to be as leadership and as a country. And as the congressman has pointed out, is this where you want to spend your first 24 hours? And that goes both ways, by the way.
Right, because you lead by example, and the president is not leading by example.
It goes both ways. The president, the visual now is a second day of having lawmakers at the White House, Leslie. So if you want to talk about tit for tat, he's having them over.
No tit for tat. I'm simply saying I agree with you that you need to lead by example.
And then the background on the Hill is you've got people cussing. And I just want to say this. Yesterday it was drinking beer. Today it's cussing. What is it with your party, Tom Perez, DNC chairman? What is it with dropping those, no imagination?
Beto?
You have a whole vocabulary to choose from.
Well,
oh my goodness.
I think it's unfair to group me and every other Democrat in with a woman who made a remark.
You're right.
Okay. The overwhelming majority of Democrats and Republicans who are in Congress don't talk like that. The overwhelming majority of presidents.
Should you hold some of these other people accountable for maybe a little bit more
creativity? She wants respect.
Just a question.
She's not responsible for what comes out of the mouth of an individual, an adult, male or female, in her party.
Well, nor are Republicans.
And the calling on the Republican side. I mean, come on.
It's been all over.
And in the president's Twitter feed being quite rude as well. So there you go.
But we are keeping it very polite on this couch.
We're trying. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren heading to Iowa this weekend for a series of events days after announcing that she is forming an exploratory committee for a White House bid. The Massachusetts Democrat also staffing up in the first caucus state where she has made at least 4 key hires, including a top staffer who served as Iowa caucus director and national caucus director for Bernie Sanders. And now Warren fundraising off a Politico tweet promoting a piece suggesting she would need to work on her likability to avoid being another Hillary Clinton. Warren's fundraising email reading in part, if you get frustrated when commentators spend more time covering Elizabeth or any woman's likability than her plans for huge systematic change to make this country work for all of us, do something productive about it. Leslie, I will start with you. What do you think? I mean, what do you think of that strategy, and what do you think of her chances?
I don't think she has a chance to. I think she definitely will be. She will be a candidate. She will be an official candidate, and not everybody who says they're going to throw their hat into the ring will. I don't think that she will be the nominee, and this is why. I think that the cards that she holds echo the sentiments and the ideology of the majority of Democrats, some from the left, some from the center. But the person holding the cards, and that was a problem that Hillary Clinton had. And it goes beyond likability. It's also relatability. And another problem that she has is she is sharing some of the people with Bernie Sanders, people that like her and like Bernie Sanders. So they're in a sense splitting the pool of fans, if you will, and then they could be splitting the pool of voters. There are people that like Hillary that would vote for her. I saw a number of things on my Twitter page, yesterday that were talking about, well, we didn't get Hillary, maybe Elizabeth can do it for us. And then I think, being from Massachusetts, and I definitely can say this, John Kerry had this problem. I think Hillary Clinton had this problem. Elizabeth Warren has this problem. even though she cracked a beer on Twitter the other day, she's not the kind of person you want to have a beer with. And no offense, Senator Warren, but and that's what people like, because intellectually you can see some of these debates. John Kerry, brilliant. Hillary Clinton, very intelligent. And this is a problem that doesn't resonate with some of those Rust Belt voters.
All right, I would say this just in terms of, because you left me a few seconds, so I'm going to take them. Just in terms of likability. And I do think that we talk about these issues with women and men, right? I mean, because if you're not likable, I'm thinking back to, and I'm sure he's a very nice man with that helmet, Mr. Dukakis, but that's what we remembered about him, right? Sure. And so everybody's grasping to have that moment where everyone thinks, oh, this is the person I want to hang out with, as Leslie has put. With Elizabeth Warren, though, and maybe this is just a factor of how long she's been out there, which is what the congressman is saying. When you wait and you wait and you wait. Yeah. Remember the day that Hillary Clinton invited her on the dais because she needed more women late in the campaign, and she showed up in nearly the same outfit. It's not that that can't happen, but if you know people are looking at you and judging you on that, as that person supporting, you show up different. Leslie, I would love to hear 10 seconds about that from you.
Well, this is a reality, and that's not being a victim. There is a reality. And for Democrats, I want the candidate that is going to make this president a one-term president. And I'm sorry, Senator Warren, but she is not the woman to do it, and she will not have the nomination, and she will not be our next president.
Mic drop on that one.
Welcome back. Well, Senator Mitt Romney is getting a high-profile role as he joins the Senate after his recent clash with President Trump. Romney was named to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee yesterday, giving him an opening to weigh in on several looming foreign policy clashes between Congress and the White House. Romney reportedly sought out the role. This, of course, follows the intense back and forth earlier this week between Romney and President Trump after the senator-elect blasted the president in an op-ed for the Washington Post, which also stressed the importance of maintaining international allies. Here's Leslie, real quick to you. So you've got someone like Senator Elizabeth Warren, who essentially shares the same view as President Trump, particularly on Syria. Why is she not criticized more on that when President Trump was so much?
Well, first of all, she didn't write an op-ed when she was just being sworn in as a senator,
but I mean, she
against a president in her own party. I mean, Mitt Romney, I think, I can't remember even saying it on or off the air. He's going to do what's best for him. I don't think he wants to be senator of Utah. I think he wants to be president. I don't think he's necessarily given that up, but you can't believe him. He goes which way the wind blows.
No, but Leslie, hold on one second. No, Leslie, but how much of the criticism, the point I'm making is how much of the criticism with President Trump is because he's President Trump versus the policies? Because it seems like,
well, for Mitt Romney, it's obvious if you read the op-ed, which I have, and I agree with it, to be honest.
But from the media as well.
It's about his character in acting presidential or lack thereof as opposed to his policies.
But from the media as well, though. And the left. But from the media and the left, President Trump got a lot of heat from both sides on that decision when you have Democrats like Elizabeth Warren who share the same opinion, which do go unscathed, don't get criticized.
Warren isn't president of the United States.
No, but she's running.
Yeah. Well, we think she's running. She's not, and you're still a candidate and a president are not going to get the same treatment in the press, whether it's positive or negative, period.
I think largely because it's President Trump. But anyways, we're disagree.